Hello, welcome to my tutorial on how to play as the unplayable characters in Dead or Alive Dimensions. For this, you're going to need three things. You're going to need, one, your emulator of choice open. I'm using Citra in this case. I don't know of any other 3DS emulators, but this one has served me very well, so I would recommend it. You're also going to need a hacking program with the program you want to hack put into the select process list. I'm using ArtMoney. You can also use Cheat Engine and a couple of other programs, but I find ArtMoney is a bit simpler, especially for manual hacking, so I would recommend it. You're also going to need a list of character values in a Word document, which I will list in the description of this video. It's quite interesting. If you don't really understand what this is, why we have a bunch of values correlated to names, I'd recommend going back and watching the very first video that I did on the basics, the introduction to boss hacking, and watching that to familiarize yourself with it before you continue with this. It'll make it make a lot more sense as a result. So this is something very interesting. This is one of the things that I discovered. Yeah, this is one of the only things through my 1,000 videos or so on fighting games that I actually discovered myself. Everything else has been stuff I've learned from other people have done it first, but from scouring the internet, as far as I can tell, this is the sole thing, or at least the sole interesting thing, that I have discovered while doing this, and I'm the only person who has discovered it. How did I discover it? Well, basically put, I was too lazy to unlock the regular bosses in this game, so I just decided to hack it instead because I couldn't find any save files to download when I wanted to do videos and dimensions, and I accidentally stumbled across 6 characters who no one's ever heard of before, so... or at least have heard of, but never heard of being playable in the game itself. And this process is incredibly simple because it's just a standard hack, basically. Standard manual hacking is just going into the game as a particular character, searching for their value, filtering for another character's value once you play as them, and then eventually you'll narrow down the address you're looking for. So if I start simple, I'll just go for Tina here, because she's character value 1. And then initially I'm going to search for her value, and her value is 1. Cool, and that's all you do there. And you want to go back to character select. It helps that DOA dimensions, makes this very easy to do, I have to say. Next we'll go to Jahn-Lee, or Jahn-Lee, however you say that. And his value is 2, so we'll filter for 2. And then we just continue doing this with other values. We're just trying to find the character address and the coding. The best way to do this is switching to a value we know will be being used by the address at the time, and we'll slowly work out which one in the game's coding refers to the address which controls the character value. Go to Hayabusa next. I'm explaining this, but if you just do it the exact way that I'm doing it, you would find it regardless. I just like to explain these methods in case you want to apply them to other games as well, which I know a few other people have done, as they've told me. Right, so that's Hayabusa. So I filtered for 4, because of course that's its value. And I'll go to Kasumi. And I will filter for her value, which is 5. I'll filter again, because we're very, very close. Okay. Sometimes if you filter multiple times, you will narrow it down a bit more. Sometimes it will just be the exact same. So this time, let's go back to Jahn-Lee again. Right, and then let's filter for 2. Okay, I guess those are all the values. Huh, how funny. Often, especially in 3D fighting games, you won't just find one character address. There are often multiple ones. It seems to be that different things are related to different addresses in the game's code. So one's related to the model, one's related to like the moveset, one's related to their parameters or something. It's quite interesting. I've never quite gotten a full explanation on it, but yeah, it seems to be the way 3D fighting games work for whatever reason. Right, so these are all 2. These are all his value. So now when you have this many values, you usually just want to take a few, put in the corresponding value you want to find, and then if that doesn't work, then you move on to another set of values instead. So let's take just 5 to start with, and let's look for Ayane, who is value 31. So I'll put 31 in the 5 here. Okay, so that one wouldn't do it, so that one probably doesn't correspond to anything. So let's just freeze these in place to make sure the game will force it to load the character we want to have, which of course is Ayane in this case. And let's go into a match and see if she actually appears. Yep, there we go. So yeah, that was dead simple right there from the beginning. With some games like, I think with Samurai Shodown 6 was quite bad. You had a set of about 20 or something when you try filtering a lot, and it's only 2 out of the 20 or something that actually correspond to it. If you try to do any more than freeze 2 values in place, it will cause the game to wildly glitch out in a variety of ways. I'll show that in a later video. It's really interesting actually, but it's not quite what you want. But yeah, it's as simple as that. That's Ayane there. I'll do it with another one just to prove that that's how it works. So let's go for Famed Douglas in this case. So even though I'm clicking, or rather pressing a button to select Kasumi, the thing is I'm forcing the game to load a different value instead, and that takes priority over it in the game's coding, so it will force the one that I wanted to load instead. As you can see, despite selecting Kasumi, I forced it to load Famed Douglas, so it's loaded Famed Douglas. That's about it. These guys don't seem to have any unique movesets. They seem to be based partially on coding from DOA 4, though, from what someone told me anyway. They have the sort of static character or like camera intros that game had. And yeah, they don't quite have the detailed intros that this game has either, so it's quite interesting. I'm not quite sure why they appear. I think they are just basic NPC models. It's quite a common... Well, actually, no, it's not a common thing. But there are multiple instances of it throughout fighting games. So it's present in Soul Blade, it's present in Sonic the Fighters, where cutscene models are kept in the same data as the regular characters. And they're there just to kind of be used as normal as they are, but they're not regularly accessible. But if you do it like this, if you manually hack the game, you can still access it, and it has no issue because it's just like a regular character. It's just that it's never implemented in the game. All 6 unplayable characters, which is to say Ayane, Famed Douglas, Irene Law, Victor Donovan, Genera, and the Deotech scientist, I think he's just a Deotech scientist anyway, they all have generic movesets. They all seem to be taken from other people. Might just be a bit of leftover coding, a bit like Wildcard and Tekken or something like that. They don't have their own unique moves from what I can tell, but again, it's still really interesting to play as them, because this is the only game where you can play as some people like Genera and Ayane and Famed Douglas, who are big characters in the series itself, but you never play as them for some reason. I guess because probably Team Ninja's very lazy, especially by this point. Anyway, hope this helped you out. Hope you have a lot of fun doing this. Any questions, leave them in the comments. Any future requests, do let me know across any of my 3 channels as well. Thanks very much, as always, for watching.